is getting a little, and we're fine.
We're good?
Yes.
So it's because I don't have the other stuff going on like last time, all the crazy
Yep.
feeds. All right, hey everybody, AJ from Athletic Scholarship Corporation. Happy New Year, 2018. Back in the Beat on Air studio here in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio. Sub-zero temperatures today, but I put on 10 pounds in the holiday, so I'm a little insulated. Hence, no tie, no button-up shirt. How was your holiday?
Holiday was great. Family Christmas, plenty of gifts.
So we're going to keep the last name out of this deal because we're going to talk a little bit. We're not trying to throw people under the bus. Mike is a client and his son's a client of Athletic Scholarship Corporation. Came to a combine with Josh Cribbs and I, got a little set of eyes on him, sent his information out. I kind of know at that point when you guys came to the camp, there was probably a little bit of activity and then it fell off. You were a client of NCSA, the other guys, and you came over to, got a call from me and we're putting this deal together, putting the pieces together. But I don't want to give the notion that we're attacking coaches or the school. We're trying to educate parents about, from a perspective that you have, which is unique, and that's why I invited you on, and I appreciate you coming, is that you've coached, and you have a son, and you've been through the process, now you're helping your son with the recruiting process, so you have a unique angle to be able to be forthright about as a coach, as a parent type
Yeah,
deal.
and it's very different today than it was when I was going through this process.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the thing parents need to know the most,
Mm-hmm.
is when I was in school, it was my senior year after football season before any of this even started.
Right.
And today, it seems like this starts in the 7th grade or 8th grade, 9th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I read somewhere a month or so ago that most D1 schools have their 90% of their decisions made before the kid's in the 9th grade almost.
I mean, there's an evaluation period or information gathering period, I call it, where they'll look, but by NCAA rules, they're not prohibited to talk to the student athlete until summer of their senior year. So a lot of kids don't even know what's going on. So parents go with the notion that, well, since the NCAA says, or my high school coach tells me that the colleges can't talk to my son directly or daughter until junior year, I don't need to worry about it till then. But the truth is, they've already evaluated, information gathered. You have to build a story about your child and sell this story to a coach as to why. Because 6'3", 285, you can't teach that. He's a big kid. He's athletic. He's lean. He's got great grades. So at the end of the day, it's just going to work out for him. But it's very stressful, obviously.
And enjoyable at the same time, I have to say.
So I guess just to go blazing right out of the gate, what is the biggest, I don't want to say lie, but thing that you thought, I got it right, this is what I was advised, and then as you go down this path, you go, this is not even close to accurate information?
Well, I thought we didn't have to worry about anything, and that all we had to do was sit back
Feed them.
and just keep feeding them, and
Yeah.
and eventually they would all start coming knocking on the door. But that's not how it happens today.
Do you think that you left it in, and I know he goes to private school, which is an investment on your end, and a lot of parents go that route to the private thinking that, okay, I've got a stronger leverage and resources within the school to help me with this process, and not bashing coaches. The reality is they don't have a lot of time. They don't have the contacts.
It wouldn't depend on the high school coach to help with this process a lot, although he is pivotal and key
Right, yeah.
to what he says to these coaches when they call. That's so my advice is to any kid or any parent would be to approach that coach and actually ask outright if a college coach called you,
What are you going to say?
What are you going to say? Absolutely, you have to do that.
And you know what? And to be honest, when I was, I'm pretty public about it. When I was going through the process as a high school student athlete, I used anabolic steroids. I was a bad apple. I just didn't behave well. Was a good football player, but I remember watching a major school come in, the head coach, talk to my coach, and through the glass, I could read his lips, and he said, kid is, in head case has issues, not coachable. And I thought, I better straighten up. And so I did. I turned around my senior year and I realized being coachable means not really being humble, but being coachable. Listen and learn, and don't think that you know everything. And what you said rings so true. I say it to every client. when a college coach calls, what are they going to say? And they never say, and I tell people, really analyze what is your relationship, because we can do all this. You can invest all you want in this marketing and our help. But if the buck stops at the head coach's desk, because they're going to call and say, tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly about this young man or young lady. And if it's bad, it's going to cut your deals down to a third at least.
And another thing I've always tried to tell kids that I've coached through the years is that the first question any college coach is going to come in and ask is, how's his grades?
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to hear that.
But they're looking at a $200,000 investment in a kid. They want to know this kid's going to be eligible to play and not going to be academically ineligible.
And people don't believe that. I mean, we do shows about ACT prep, academics, NCAA compliance, and it's not sexy. Nobody wants to hear it. People shut it off. I get it. They don't watch the whole thing, but that advice is so true. And we talked late in this process. You came to the camp, you hired somebody else before you knew about us, and then you called and said, what's realistic for us right now? And I know my answer, and I don't know word for word, but I know what I say is, with his grades and his size, we're going to leverage, even if it's a D3 or maybe a D1 that doesn't have football money left, they still can leverage academic money. And I think you're starting to see that. Even some of the schools you've been working on, it seems like they move faster because that's out everywhere now through the socket, basically.
This whole thing began for me last summer when I had a person from NCSA call me out of the blue. Apparently, my son had opened an account on this website when he was in like the 5th or 6th grade, because when I opened it up, there was a picture of him with this little Pop Warner helmet under his arm that he had done himself. This is where he started informing me of how different the process is today than it was when I went through it. And it got me thinking, and I absolutely did sign up. I want the best for my kid. I want my kid to have the best opportunity. So I did let them talk me into spending money that I probably shouldn't have, because all the things they promised on the phone haven't happened. All the things they said they were going to do hasn't really came through. When I first called you, AJ, I think it was like a week later when I opened up a little window and I saw that there were 11 D1 schools that had visited my son's profile. I don't know, maybe 50 or 60 other D2, D3 schools.
D3 is a shoo-in for him. I mean, it is what it is. It's grades alone.
But I think the thing I was most impressed with is his dream school has always been Auburn, because that's where I played coming up. He's a grown-up Auburn fan. Made him an Auburn fan. I raised him right.
Raised him
but that's always been his dream. And when he saw Gus Malzahn's name there, and that Gus Malzahn had actually visited his profile and looked at him, he went through the roof. He was so excited.
It's hard because you want to, on our end, we want to be transparent on where's your investment going, what's going on. The balancing act is, let's see what happens. Let's see if they call. And obviously, we talked off record about that period and another campaign going out. But it looks like a lot of the D2, D3, it's just like a windfall of money. And a lot of people, when I speak and educate, they all say, well, there's no D3 sports money. And what I tell them is 83% of the schools out there in D3 get sanctioned and self-report themselves for giving more money to athletes than a traditional student. So like my son, we have the same economic background, the same grades. My son doesn't play sports, yours does. Yours is going to get more money. I don't care what anybody says. It happens every day. And you're seeing it firsthand, I think. They got some scholarships and funds and crazy stuff, right?
We actually have some D3 schools right now where...
No, out of pockets.
Excuse me. Basically, with his grades and his test scores and the money that they're offering, it's an absolutely free ride.
So now you're faced with the decision of, we've got a month and a half or so, and see what D1s come out, what shakes out. Obviously, you have some D2, D3 options that you can measure. I know he's going on visits. Are you letting him go by himself?
I have a few times.
Oh boy! Yeah, my camera guy's like, whoa!
And he's absolutely loved it. He's been on a few overnights. Had some fun with the team. I'm very fortunate in having a son that I could let go anywhere at any time, and I'm not going to worry the least bit because he has always been a great kid, never been in any sort of trouble, and I don't anticipate any. It's very fortunate that we're able to send him to a religious-based institution, because the things that I try to teach him at home, when he goes to school, those things are reinforced, and I think that's been a big benefit for us as a family and for him as well.
I mean, he's at a great school. I've dealt with kids in all sports there for a long time, going on 13 years now, so I know the school and I know the structure, and that's always good, and that's going to be instrumental in his life later. I mean, football, he's an injury away from not playing, and that's what we try to advise clients and athletes, that you got to look at the school first and pick the school on the merit of the school as if you weren't playing sports, and a lot of kids don't. You know, they all want to play on the big stage, and they get it. But
this is one of the things that we're trying to go through now is, even though he's 17, I know it's hard for a 17-year-old to imagine what they want to do for the rest of their life. But that's kind of what I'm trying to push him to do, is to make at least pick a direction of something that he would enjoy doing every day for the rest of his life. And then we're going to evaluate the schools and his options based on who has the best program for what it is that he wants to do.
What's your best advice to a parent or a student athlete watching this and saying, you know, what's the three main things I should focus, or what's the pixie dust, the main ingredient? If you could say, hey, these are the three things you need to pay attention to, and I think you've already said it, you know, academics being one of them. Academics
being one, strength conditioning. We've done some outside things as well. I'd like to give a pitch to Adrian Clark.
Okay.
Adrian was a shaker guy where we live. 4 years started at OSU, 7 years in the NFL.
He's a good guy.
JC's got to spend some one-on-one time with him over the past few years. And number three, I would say, would be call AJ this afternoon.
This afternoon. Now, I won't answer this afternoon. It's Saturday. I'm going home, get on a treadmill. But so, is he over at Euclid Sports Plant still? Adrian?
Yes.
Have they redone that building yet?
I think they're working on it.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I run into a lot of quality guys across the country that, you know, parents say, well, we train at school. And I think during the season, from a culture standpoint, you have to stay with your team, especially as a captain and a leader, and be there with the coaches and be united. But off season, you got to invest in it. I mean, a lot of people don't look at this. You're interviewing for one of the biggest jobs in your life. And until people realize and invest in the resources that can help and do the training and the nutrition, if you look at it as this is one of the biggest interviews I'm ever going to take in my life because it's $200,000, a lot of people don't take it serious. I mean, it's a sense of entitlement, or, you know, if you build, they will come mentality, and it's the furthest from the truth.
It's not how it happens.
No.
Absolutely.
No. And you're grinding on it. I know you're working hard, and as a former coach and looking at your son, it's probably a little more stressful, but you seem laid back about it.
Actually, I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I'm enjoying watching him enjoy it. He's having a lot of fun with it.
That's good.
I trying my best to turn everything over to him, so when a coach calls, it's hey, come here, it's for you.
Yeah.
So he has a lot of coaches. I know there was a couple of weeks there at school where he had like 3 or 4 different coaches.
Yeah.
From different colleges come visit him at the school.
Well, that's because we need to do our job again. We kind of, I don't want to say got lazy, but the reality is that window of dead period, it's like you should do something, but your resources are better spent right after the dead period, because then react. And that's the way it is anymore, because these coaches, there's a new kid every day. And I look at kids and I'm like, I like that kid, I like that kid, I like that kid. And I find myself saying the same thing. This kid can play on Sunday. And what happens is you're so desensitized. So we're very careful on when we put the information out in a window where a coach can respond. And I know right out of the gate, and we've talked late at night sometimes, I'm heading into dinner and we're talking. But there was activity, like we did a campaign, and then you're like, oh, coaches are coming in, coaches are calling. So it's nice to see that, hear that. I mean, that makes me feel great about what we do always, and never lost that passion. And now we got slow, we got the dead period, and then it picks back up. When was his last visit? Then you just go on another one?
Well, actually, the next big one is going to be in January. We have a 3-day.
He's got a road trip.
We have a 3-day excursion where he's going to actually go visit 5 different schools in those 3 days.
So you expect a decision by signing period, first Wednesday, February? You don't have to.
It's really going to be up to him. It's not my decision to make. The next 4 years are maybe the most important 4 years of this kid's life. I don't want to make this decision for him. I'd be happy to guide him, and I'll give him my opinion when I ask.
Yeah.
But I don't want him to feel like he's going into something that he didn't choose and that he didn't decide on, and resent it because he was pushed one way or the other.
Yeah, and as a parent, you have to be real careful about that analysis. I mean, you're in a position with your child that he can make that foundation, building blocks, and relationships with the coaches, make decisions. Not every kid can do that. A lot of them. I tell student athletes, make the decision based on the school first, where you would attend, and then your relationship with the coach. Not just the facilities or the mascot chasing, the big time D1s, but look at your relationship with the coach. And that's very tough to do because you get 1 or 2 days to try to assess the chemistry. And those coaches at the high level get paid millions of dollars, so they are great salespeople. Everybody gets promised everything, and then you show up, and it's a different story when you get to camp. I mean, it's like the military at the end of the day.
Absolutely, it is.
So does he, as a parent and speaking for your son, do you feel like D1's the most important, or are you really looking at some of these D3s because the education, the facility, one of them, the Steelers, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
he's one of the visits is St. Vincent. He could actually go to school there for free.
And that's what is it a year there?
Based on his
50?
grades, it's $42,000 a year.
Plus food, 50.
Yeah, the Steelers maintain their athletic facilities, and the Steelers practice there. So he's looking forward to seeing the facilities, and it would be a great opportunity. It's a great school, academically, prestigiously, it's a great school.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the same Catholic order where he is now, so he gets automatically half off just for that. Because of his ACT, SAT scores and his GPA, he's eligible for another $24,000 off, which is basically how that whole free ride came about. It has nothing to do with athletics.
So if he wasn't a football player, do you think he'd get the same thing?
I don't think they would be calling. I doubt they would be calling and insisting on a visit the way they have.
Yeah. And here's a good thing that we have a pro division too, and my partner on that deal probably love to hear it, but I think the Steelers would probably get the first look for a couple of years at least. So that's something to consider. Great education, free, great facility, and the Steelers will look at it. We don't want them at the Steelers. I don't like the Steelers, but
every kid who plays the game wants to play in the NFL. That's their dream.
Even if it's Cleveland.
The reality is the reality is about 1% of your high school players actually play college football. And I think it's less than 1% of those college players actually make it to the NFL.
Yeah,
so realistically, it's great to have that dream.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, you have to have a backup plan if it don't work, because odds are it's not going to.
Yeah, I've had so many kids that are promising. I've had them as large as 6'7", 300 pounds playing tight end in high school and go to major college and blow their knee out, and it's just never the same, and it doesn't work out, and it's sad because they didn't plan. They didn't look at this. They thought everything, and we were 20 once, and we thought everything was this is how it's gonna be, and we're invincible, right? And then reality hits you in the face, and you're not prepared because most of the guys drop out of school.
Well, I went to high school in Alabama. I had a sports writer with the Birmingham News that nicknamed me Monday Night Mike in the high school forums. Absolutely, he started writing about my NFL career when I was in the 9th grade.
So you were
absolutely got to college. One accident, one punt return in practice ended it all.
Yeah, so you could speak firsthand on that. So Alabama, I was just out there. We talked about that. That's where I gained 10 pounds. I blame it on Alabama.
football is king in Alabama.
We, mother-in-law, father-in-law, great people, sat there, had cigars, wine, junk food all day. So now I don't even fit in my shirt. It's going to take a few months now. But beautiful area, strong, rich in football. Worked with a lot of kids in GW right there in Birmingham, and a lot of different schools. And
I really have 2 words to say about it, and that's War Eagle.
No, so you're not rolling for Tide? Can't.
The actually national championship game has no interest for me whatsoever.
You're not going to watch it?
They are 2 of the least favorite teams of mine. I hope they play 6 quarters, end in a tie. Doesn't matter.
It does not matter.
We beat them both.
It's such a big business anymore, and every year, I mean, it gets. I'm knee deep in it, so I see the business end of it, and kids get promised things, and one thing I tell parents, and they don't believe me every time I say it, is these coaches are not going to come to you or your son or daughter and say, just really not that good, not a good fit for us. They always embrace you and coddle you and say, really promising. We'll see if we have an opportunity for them. We'll keep you on our radar. And all it is a walking brochure for you to feel like you have a relationship with them, and then maybe you'll walk on, or worst case, you'll go get a huge loan and go attend the school, try out for the team. And I just never hear coaches say, you're better off looking somewhere else. It just doesn't come out of their mouth. And I get it, because they're campaigning for the school. It's all about enrollment. It's a $1 billion business, and people don't look at it as a business, and it is. Big business.
And any kid that has the opportunity to get their degree without hundreds of $1,000s of debt needs to take advantage of that opportunity.
A lot of kids, they will go borrow just to try to play, and then they get there, and I get a call from the parent, and they say, you know what, my kid doesn't get along with the coach, is not being treated right, and it's like, you know what, nobody owes you anything. I hate to tell you that, but nobody owes you anything but an opportunity.
You made the decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And all you're going to get is an opportunity. And your son being a high GPA kid, I think he can filter through that. And I think they approach some of the kids differently, depending on what school. I mean, especially the Ivy League schools. I did look at the report this morning. I see a litter of those. And I'm going, do you go there? And I've had some kids go to Princeton, Cornell.
And he likes Miami of Ohio, too.
It's a great school. Rich in tradition, great education. Only thing bad that came out of there is Ben Roethlisberger. In case my wife's listening right now, she knows I hate the Steelers, but they're in. We're not. We're having a parade today for the Browns.
Perfect season.
0-16. So how do you keep your job? Is the question of the day. Going off path for a moment. Video expert. How do you keep your job? When you go, and what did he do? 1 in 30 something crazy?
1 in 36.
How in the heck do you keep your job?
I wish I knew. I wouldn't be here today.
I want that job. I really do. I mean, it's breeding a culture of failure, and it is what it is. So is he visiting Miami of Ohio?
Yes, he already has.
He likes it.
Yeah, he liked it. Going to the Browns, I just want to say, maybe the biggest mistake. I moved here in 1995. Maybe the biggest mistake I made after moving here was becoming a Browns fan. It's hard every year. They just rip your guts out, don't they?
Yeah, and they keep pulling you back, and they don't care because StubHub buys all the empty seats that you see, so they're sold out even when you don't think they are. But I remember last year, my wife and I were looking to take the kids to a game, and it was the Ravens, I believe, at home, and it was December, cold, and they had dog pound seats for $25 a piece, front row, and I thought, I've never seen that in my lifetime. You used to have to fight to get into the dog pound, and it was $1,000 a seat, $250 at least in the '80s, back when they were relevant, I guess. But
I'll make a confession, because I've had people this season offer me free tickets, and I was like,
and you didn't go?
That's okay.
No, it's not a good deal.
One of those things is expectation. As a coach, one of the things I always tried to do was make my kids believe they could walk on water. Set the expectations for a championship team. have those expectations. They have to buy into it. They have to believe it. And when they hit the field, they have to know they're, without a doubt, they're better than whatever team they're stepping on the field with. And that's something that hasn't happened with the Browns yet. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. The private versus public, what's your advice on, you know?
I have mixed emotions. There are a lot of advantages
every month when you get the bill.
There are a lot of advantages to private schools. I think the quality of education that my son's got is beyond reproach. As I said earlier, the things I try to teach him at home being reinforced at school, I feel like is a huge advantage. You know, at the same time, we went into a football school, and there were kids in front of him that were juniors and seniors where
they play them first. It's not on talent; it's on seniority.
Some of those kids are at Ball State. It was talent and seniority. You know, a lot of those kids are at Toledo, Ball State. I'm trying to think of where all they went to school, but
West Virginia, some in the
NFL. But that offensive line that he stepped into, they all went to somewhere, and they're still playing ball today. So he ended up having to wait a couple of years before he got his opportunity to play. Whereas if we'd have stayed in public school, he would have been a 4-year starter without a doubt.
That's hard for people to digest, because I think he's going to be more prepped for reality, because when you get to college, a lot of kids pick a school thinking, I'm going to play right away because that's what the coach told me, and then you get there and you're getting redshirted or you're sitting. You know, and I think that's a good word of advice indirectly, is that, you know, you've got to wait and go through that, trust the process. And most people today don't. They just hop schools.
We live in a microwave society, don't we? Everything's instant gratification.
And it doesn't work that way. And watching these kids today, verbal commits, decommits, he's doing it the right way. He's just enjoying the process, not getting stressed out, and doing his visits and just absorbing it all. And then you'll sit at the table, right, as a family, and say, hey, this is what's going on. What do you think? And really talk about it. And parents need to be involved in that process. You know,
the school he goes to has a 5-day retreat for the juniors in their school. It's a religious, self-reflective 5-day period that every junior goes through that goes to school here. The seniors lead it. And I was very proud that he volunteered to be one of the leaders for this retreat that they'll be going on in a few months. And actually this morning he was up at 6 o'clock out the door, and they're preparing for this retreat. So that was his time, his free time. He could be playing Xbox. He could be
eating Cheetos.
You know, but he chose to spend that time to give that time back to others, because last year when he was a junior, this retreat really meant a lot to him.
That's good that he does that, and that speaks on character, which a lot of people, you can't measure heart, you can measure character. And a lot of coaches, that's why they call the high school coach, because they want to know what's the relationship, what's the character. Because not only am I married to the student athlete, indirectly they're recruiting the parent, because they're kind of married to you because you're going to be there on campus. You know, at some level, it doesn't mean you're going to be in the stands screaming. Obviously, you're laid back. You haven't called and yelled at me yet, so I think, you know, in closing, you know, you just got to kind of ride the process, be calm and trust it. And I'm sure you invested before we talked, before you even came to our camp with Josh and I. I'm sure you invested a lot of money, you know, in training and
between football, wrestling, baseball. It's not it's a commitment that you make as a parent to your child. It's not something that I've pushed. I have another one that's 2 years younger that wrestles. Didn't want to play football. That's great. I didn't make him play football. I never made either one of them do anything they didn't want to do. And the key to them wanting to do that is it has to be fun.
Yeah.
If it's not fun for the kid, they're not going to want to do it. So parents yelling and screaming on the sidelines, you know, berating their kids because they didn't perform up to their parents' standards, or, you know, as a youth coach at times, I've had to go get on to parents and explain to them that you're doing my job. If your son needs to be gotten onto, that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
You need to support him,
Yeah.
and cheer for him, and no matter how it goes, or win, lose, or draw,
Yeah.
Be there for him.
I've seen parents push, and I've seen, we had a contract up at Massillon, Washington for years, a historic school, and you see parents that just, they're born with the football, and the culture is just grind, yell, and then they wonder why their kid crashes and burns their senior year and says, you know what, I don't even want to play anymore, because they hit burnout. So I think as a parent, and even as former players and coaches, and looking at kids play, just let them enjoy it. And great, if they make it, great. If they don't, who cares? It doesn't define who they are.
Absolutely.
It's just an ancillary process. It's a way to get your education paid for, and that's what it's all about. Especially with my organization, it's about get the money. Doesn't matter what level you play. You're going to make that decision, not us, not you. The coaches and the player are going to make that decision at the end of the day. So it's all about getting the money, and I'm honored, obviously, to be a part of that with you guys.
We appreciate everything that you've done.
I wish we were earlier, but it doesn't mean that this isn't going to work out by any means.
If you want the best for your child, and you want the best opportunities available, call this guy. Go to the website,
athleticscholarshipcorp.com.
Look it up, sign up.
And I appreciate it. Obviously, you're not a paid spokesperson, none of that fun stuff. You
Not
just
getting
came
paid
in.
a penny.
Yeah, I think I said once on the radio when we first started, we're too broke to do that. But so I do appreciate it. Our site, athleticscholarshipcorp.com, or by phone 800-260-8434. Right on the site, you will see a bar where you can book an appointment, speak with one of my teammates, and we'll get you set up and get the grades right. I mean, that's obviously being 6'3", 285 helps tremendously. Being athletic helps tremendously, but grades are, anytime I run into somebody with good grades, I go, this is going to work out at the end. You're going to get a return on your investment, because we're going to just basically force those schools to sharpen their pencil. They know it's a competitive market.
It's the first question any college coach is going to ask, and you've got to get that across to your kid. When they walk in and talk to his high school coach, the first question is going to be, how is his grades?
When did you register for the NCAA eligibility? Do you remember that?
We actually did that last summer after talking to the NCSA.
So they helped you with
something
$2,800. They helped you with something.
Something else I had no idea about.
So it worked out somehow. I mean, then they ding you for about $2,800. Maybe.
I'm not sure how much it was, but it was not cheap. It was in the four figures. I'll put it that way.
Wow. But at the end of the day, it's going to work out for them. They're going to pay for school. We know that already. So the rest is gravy. It's just a matter of what level and how it works out. And we're going to continue to work. Monday we're back in, and I promise you we will light it up again. We'll get that traffic going again.
I'm excited.
And
looking forward to it.
I appreciate you treading out from the beautiful east side in the cold.
And it is cold today.
I'm ready to go back to Shaker. I'm a Cleveland Heights guy. I think I'm ready to go back. I'm in Solon. I don't like it too much. I like Cleveland Heights Shaker.
You like Texas, huh?
That's why I left. Thanks for reminding me. Couldn't swing it. And then you send your kid to a private school, and you probably get back to work about now, don't you? We're talking about all those bills.
I actually have to work 2 jobs, so.
I appreciate it. We will keep working hard. I appreciate you coming out and investing a little bit of time and sharing your story. It's important, because I really want parents to know the truth and not feel like we're selling them a bag of goods. And we're all about education, a little bit of entertainment, but we want the best for these guys and these girls. And a lot of parents they just don't know. They don't know what they don't know.
I was amazed at that combine where all these kids came from, and we went to this combine.
It's an ice storm.
It
killed us. We lost like 120 kids.
Oh, but there were kids from foreign countries there.
New Zealand.
We talked to a family from California, a couple from Florida, and I'm looking at them saying, "Man, if this wasn't in Massillon,
yeah,
we wouldn't probably be here." So it was a great opportunity.
The facility was what brought you, huh? Not Josh Cribbs?
Actually, it was Josh on the radio that talked me into signing up.
We did a couple segments with Triv and Hooley House and the great people, but the thing that was cool is the NCAA's rules now that don't allow coaches to come to non-sanctioned events. So if the combine, and this is the best advice about combines, I'm sure you've been through the circuit, if it's not being broadcasted or sent directly to colleges, don't go. I mean, you've got to have camera crews, you got to be wired and ready to go. But a lot of parents send them to these different satellites and Adidas and Rivals and try to get rated. And I see it, and I get it. They want to get rated. I think it's more for the skill guys, the speed guys, but you're best served going to camps at a college campus. The problem is you only get to get looked at by that one in most cases, unless it's Ohio State. They put a great one on. It's about 25 schools there. But our camp, the weather kind of hindered us. It was absolutely, you remember, it was an ice storm. You couldn't drive in there. You couldn't walk. And we got all this equipment, camera guys coming in, and we're trying to digitally broadcast that. So we have an app. The coaches can watch it live, and they're not there, so they're not breaching NCAA rules. And I know you got some traction, some things were going on right after that, and then it went, because we worked on it like 30 days. I think our deal was, if you come to the camp, our team will do the marketing for that part of that ticket, which nobody else does.
Right.
But it was cool. I remember him because he said, yeah, where he went to school, and I said, yeah, I worked with a lot of guys there, and he looked good. He looked good.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, eats right, you can tell. I mean, all those things. So, the eye test is very important. So
he's a really good kid. I'm proud of him as my son.
Hopefully, we'll get him on the pro side one day. Not to stretch too far, but we'll work on this first step.
That would be his dream.
Yeah, that was mine too. But here I sit and we're talking. I love what I do. I can't complain. Life's good, and I appreciate it.
Well, he's 17, so maybe he'll grow another 3 or 4 inches and put on another 100 pounds.
He's going to be 385, 6'6".
NFL.
That's a big food bill. I have a big food bill, but I eat cheap. I like cookies and fries, not protein like I should. But all right, we are finito, I guess. I appreciate you coming. Absolutely appreciate it. We'll get together I'll shoot you a message on Monday after we get done, or I'll call you after we get done redoing the program, and then we'll figure out lunch out your way. Yours truly, right?
No big deal.
Yours truly. I love that place. We're off record, right?
Yeah.